sort of counter that particular charge. In the meantime, the Roman soldiers come out, arrest Paul, or take a hold of Paul, save him from the mob. Then Paul says, you arrest Roman citizens, and then he pulls out his Roman citizenship, and the soldier starts talking about, you have a Roman citizenship? Well, I have a Roman citizenship too. How much did you pay for yours? And the two start talking about Roman citizenships and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, Paul's bustled off under guard, taken away, saved from the mob, not killed, etc., 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 etc. He's saved by the Roman soldiery from the ire of the mob. So, I mean, you know, there is this great antagonism about all of these issues. Okay, so this is where it starts, though. 4 BC, 7 AD. Those who would consent to pay tribute to the Rome and tolerating mortal masters as having God for their rulers. You see, this is the Zealot movement starting way back then. Now, look, the Jewish philosophy has 3 different groups. The Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Essenes. So then he launches again into the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. This is again the same point as in the Antiquities, after the census of Cyrenius and the discussion of the birth of the Zealots. But look, he doesn't discuss the Zealots here. He only discussed the Essenes at such tender length, Josephus now, that one assumes he spent time with the Essenes. He really is just totally enamored of the Essenes and all their customs. And then he gives, around 10 pages further on, he gives a short little description of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Of the first 2 schools, the Pharisees, who are considered the most accurate interpreters of the law and hold the position of the leading sect, contribute everything to fate, to God. They hold that to act rightly or otherwise rest indeed for the most part with men, but that in each action fate cooperates. It's not very interesting description. Every soul, very brief description, is imperishable, but the soul of the good alone passes into another body, while the souls of the wicked suffer eternal punishment. It looks like metempsychosis there. In any case, the Sadducees, the second of the orders, do away with fate altogether, remove God beyond not merely the commission but the very sight of evil. They maintain that man was free choice of good or evil, and that it rests with each man's will, whether he follows one or the other. As for the persistence of the soul after death, penalties in the underworld and rewards, they will have none of them. No afterlife. The Pharisees are affectionate to each other and cultivate harmonious relations within the community. The Sadducees, on the contrary, are even among themselves rather boorish in their behavior, and in their intercourse with their peers are as rude. Such is what I have to say on the Jewish philosophical schools. But he didn't tell us about the Zealots. He didn't tell us, he just told us this sort of drivel about the Pharisees and Sadducees, which, by the way, has been picked up in the New Testament too, in terms about how the Pharisees believe in the resurrection of the dead and the Sadducees don't. That's the argument that the Sanhedrin is presented as having when Paul is being tried before the Sanhedrin, and Paul makes a very clever remark there to set one group against the other. But there is something interesting here. And I'll just read to that, and then unfortunately we're going to have to go again. As far as the Essenes go, at the end of his descriptions, he says they're divided into, in the duration of their discipline, into 4 grades. And insofar as the junior members are inferior to the seniors, that a senior, if he be touched by junior, must go and immerse himself, take a bath, as he had contacted an alien or a foreigner or an impure person. They live to great age, most of them upwards to a century, in consequence of I imagine, of the simplicity and regularity of their mode of life. They make light of danger and triumph over pain by their resolute will. Death, if it comes with honor, they consider better than immortality. In the war with the Romans, tried their souls through and through by every variety of test, racked and twisted, burned and broken, made to pass through every instrument of torture in order to induce them to blaspheme the lawgiver and to eat some forbidden thing. Now, in a different version of this, Hippolytus, a 2nd century Roman Greek theologian in Rome, he has another version of this, and he says, yes, not to blaspheme Moses, the lawgiver, and not to eat things sacrificed to idols, which is James's instructions to overseas communities. Here, this is translated in this Greek version of Josephus, not to eat some forbidden thing. And I think it's the other thing that's more precise. And there, Hippolytus has it more precise. We'll find this very important. Nor ever once did they cringe to their persecutors or shed a tear, smiling in their agonies, mildly deriding their tormentors. They cheerfully resigned their souls, confident that they would one day receive them back again. Okay. Where do we hear that before? Under his description of the zealots in the Antiquities. So what has Josephus done? He's clipped a bit from his description of the Essenes in the war and included it under his description of the zealots in the Antiquities. If the Antiquities, or if the zealots who are willing to undergo any torture rather than call any man Lord, etc., 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 and are willing to die any kind of death rather than, give up their attachment to the law. So that's really interesting. So I think, in fact, this description of the war is not totally forthcoming, and that there's more here than meets the eye. There's more about the Essenes. I don't have time to tell it to you. I will tell you this, that it's about bathing. It's about dividing things into two orders of activity, one loving God, one loving your fellow man. Loving God is piety. The commands of piety are all the purity regulations and so on. The commands of righteousness is loving your neighbor as yourself, how to treat your fellow man. But of course, they don't love the people who are evil and sons of the pit, as the scroll says. Okay, I have to leave off there. I really am just about done with all this background stuff. I hope this is beginning to clarify what you have to wrestle with. And then we're going to do just Jesus is coming. I wanted to do it today. I didn't get to it. I apologize. Jesus is coming at the time of the census of Cyrenius. I think that's symbolic. Jesus comes at the time of the census of Cyrenius because that's when all these movements start. Bring me that sign-up sheet, you guys. I definitely am just about done with this.
But I'll tell you why.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
Sorry.
What, these things?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's why the secretary.
Oh, yeah. I have, let's see, for each class, let me hold on. I have about 20 for each class. So, 20 for each class. Yeah, so I got about, maybe for 5 classes, 100.
A little bit of what
I think, well, we can include this term, then it'll be about 100 and 140. Each film is an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
That's great. We can get more in
Yeah.